share, recipe share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share. Recipe Share, Recipe Share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV where we take a few minutes to talk about recipes in a featured category. Today's category is sweet and sour citrus. I'm Elizabeth, and as usual, I'm joined today by Beth and Katie to tell us about their recipes. So Beth, tell us about your citrus recipe.
Oy vey. I would call this it's not really a fail, but I didn't like it. But I wanted to share it anyway because apparently it's a thing. It was an orange and black olive salad. This came first from this book, The Miracle of Salt, which had a lot of interesting salt information and stories behind, like Himalayan salt and blah blah. But they said it was adapted from this other one, Flatbreads and Flavors, which I have. And I thought, well, it's in two cookbooks, so sure, let's just go ahead and do that. So it requires you to supreme the citrus, 3 to 5 oranges. I ended up using, well, what I had were 2 old ones, couple like a month old. Didn't just supremely annoying to cut apart. It's a good name for supreming. Took forever. This cookbook actually says this may seem finicky, but it's quickly done. And no, it wasn't. And it's probably me, but so you're supposed to, get rid of all the pith and cut the oranges into little chunks. Mine was, I'll show you what it was. Well, it's because I'm still trying to eat it. Most of it's, okay, there's an olive. Calls for Moroccan cured olives. They're super, super salty. So you're basically making a little dressing with a little olive oil, some garlic, sea salt, a little bit of mint, smoked paprika, and this called for an optional pinch of sugar. I did not use the sugar, and maybe it would have helped it. But yeah, we had it as a side salad. It's pretty because it's got these little bits of green, and orange, black. And I Googled the concept just now, and there's quite a few different recipes. So it's a thing in Morocco, and it's probably good if it's made by somebody else and like maybe in a restaurant, I was just visualizing like being in Morocco, like before the earthquake, and like on a table of a whole bunch of small plates, and it sounds really festive and fun, but I didn't really dig it.
Well, the dressing sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I do not imagine like orange and super salty olives, like those flavors melding at all. I can't imagine how those taste good together. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to try that because same. And also, I can't believe you're still eating it.
Yeah, you don't have to finish it.
Stop eating it.
Actually, it wasn't that bad. I was making a face. Okay, I got the navel oranges to add to, and those, they're okay, but yeah, no, not making them again. Bless you, Moroccans, all you're going through and your lovely salads, but
not for you.
Not for me. Not today.
Well, good on you for trying something new anyway. And
well, thanks. I was really, excited to try it, and that's what we're here for. Mm-hmm. So, all right, Katie, what did you end up making?
Okay, so I actually have like a main recipe, and then I have a little bonus recipe too at the end. So the main recipe that I started out making is for sour candied citrus peels. And this is from food52.com. So I was really sort of like thought that these would taste like Sour Patch Kids, which is like one of my favorite candies. So I was really excited to make this. The first thing that they say in this recipe is that you can use any kind of citrus here, but if you use grapefruit rinds, you don't need to remove the pith. And I love grapefruit. So that on top of like not having to remove the pith, I was like, let's do grapefruit. So that's what I was doing. You need to peel your fruit because you're using the peel. And one thing I don't really like, I have a kind of hard time peeling thick citrus. So I have this little tool. I don't know if you guys have seen this before. It's a little citrus cutting tool you put on your finger, and then you just bring it around the side of the citrus and it cuts the peel so that it makes it easier for you to just take it off. So that was really helpful in this recipe. And once you have the peel off, you want to cut them into 3-inch by 1/3 inch strips. And mine were all over the place. Like I tried to keep them the same width, but as far as length, like it was all over the place. So you put your peels in a medium pot and then you cover them with water, bring to a boil, remove them from the heat, drain, put them back in the pot, and then you repeat the process 3 times. So this is not a quick recipe. After your 4th boil, you place the peels back in the pot, cover them with water again. You add 2.5 cups of sugar. So I didn't mention this is with 2 grapefruits. So it's about 4 cups of citrus peels. So you put in your sugar and then you bring that up to a boil. Then you lower your heat and you let it simmer, cook uncovered for 2 hours. The peels become translucent and the syrup gets really thick. Then you let that peel or let the peels cool, and then you put them in glass jars and cover them with syrup. Mine look like this. These are, I think, 1/2 pint jars, and it ends up looking kind of like marmalade inside of there. And you can refrigerate those for a few months. So you can just keep those in the fridge. The night before you want to serve the peels, you remove them from the syrup and you drain them on a wire rack overnight. So then the next day you make your sugar sour mixture, and to do this you use citric acid crystals. Those are most commonly used for canning. So you can find them any place that has canning supplies, like a hardware store, but I found the smallest quantity for the cheapest around here was at Meijer. And you combine the citric acid with sugar at a 3-to-1 ratio sugar to citric acid. So it was like, for me, it was like 1.5 tablespoons of sugar to a tablespoon of citric acid. Mix that up. You can also just use sugar if you're not into the sour stuff, right? So you could just make these sweet. So then you just like roll them in the sugar mixture, and it says to put them in a single layer on a plate, but I found just putting them back on the wire rack was good, and it just kind of shakes the excess sugar off. And then it says that you want to make sure to eat these like in the next couple of days because the sugar dissolves back into the peel. And I did find this to be true, but they still tasted good. They just look nicer with the sugar on the outside. And actually, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I have some in a cute little bag right here. They're just like really neat looking and they taste great. They do, in fact, taste like a grapefruit flavored Sour Patch Kid. And I am just looking forward to making my last batch for the holidays and putting them in like a beautiful candy dish. I think it's going to be really neat. And then ended up, after I did all of my peeling, I had these 2 naked grapefruits, and I thought, what am I going to do with these? Well, I could just eat them, but I thought it would be nicer if I could make them into something. So I found this recipe for a Sea Blast smoothie, as in vitamin C. And this is from besthealthmag.ca, and it's just a large grapefruit peeled, 1/2 cup of pineapple. They said crushed, canned, or fresh. I use frozen. A 1/2 cup of strawberries, fresh or frozen, and then a 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt. Blend that all together. I found this to be way too bitter, so I poured a bunch of honey into it, and then it was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. It was super unique. I'd never had grapefruit in a smoothie before, so I thought this duo of recipes turned out really well for me.
I'm so impressed with the time you put into making the peels. I mean, they're gorgeous, but
Yeah, they really are. Yes.
That's really cool to devote that time and just kind of, go through all the steps and end up with like such a beautiful presentation in the little cute bag. And like, I love it.
Well, it did take a little bit of time, but I will say that the initial time is kind of worth it because you get 3 batches out of it, right? So you had the first batch, and then I actually just did the second batch last night and this morning, and I kind of timed how long it would take me to do that, especially the morning part where you have to put all the sugar on. It really only took 20 minutes. So it's like once you do that initial big thing, you sort of set yourself up. So that's kind of nice about it too.
I was curious if when you put it in the jar and it looks like marmalade, what that liquid is like, if you can use it as marmalade or on toast.
They actually say that you can use the excess liquid as like a syrup in like a drink or something like that, is what their suggestion was, because it's very sugary and there's not a lot of it left. I actually ended up discarding mine just because it was like the tiniest amount. I was like, well, I'm not really going to save that. So,
okay, but yeah, you could use it as a simple syrup.
You definitely could use
if
it
you
as a
if you
syrup
wanted.
if you were inclined to save it, which I was not.
Yeah. And I have 2 things. One was I had so many little pith jokes that I didn't use. So but the other was grapefruit. A lot of people can't have grapefruit. I mean, I know I'm not the only one who's on medication.
Yeah.
I
think I know a lot of people who can't have citrus in general, actually, just because it's so acidic.
But it mellows it out, it sounds like.
It does. It doesn't. Yeah, I would be curious if. Yeah,
I'd like to try. Anyway, thanks.
Okay. Well, Elizabeth, tell us about your citrus recipe.
I will. And I've done this before where I can't remember if way back in season 1 I shared this because I didn't know we would be so successful. So I didn't write down back in the day like what I did. Now I keep track. But anyway, I didn't have time to go look back and see. So I may have talked about this, but I don't know. But this is for a salad that I have made a few times, most recently last week. And it's called burrata with tangerines, shallots, and watercress. And this is a very interesting thing that I had never done before I did it back a couple years ago. I've done it a few times since then, but I am the only person that seems to like it. People are weird about how they consume citrus, I think. I don't know. Anyway, so basically you take a shallot and you thinly slice it into rings and you put it in a small bowl with some lemon juice and you season with salt and pepper, let it sit for a few minutes, just like tossing it to make it less, mellow the flavor. So then you get a ball of burrata, which is, I'm sure you both know, but it's a type of fresh cheese where it's like fresh mozzarella, but actually even like more liquid inside. So when you slice it open, it like kind of like fresh cheese kind of like oozes out. Delicious to me. So it says, depending on how ripe the burrata is, you can tear a slice or cut it into a few pieces and arrange it on a serving platter. The riper it is, the runnier it will be. So anyway, and then you scatter some 3 tangerine slices around the burrata. And then you basically top this with the shallot rings and some small spicy greens. So like it called for watercress or arugula. I think I got arugula from Arbor Farms because that's what I could find. It's like the small, sprouts. And then you drizzle with olive oil and sprinkle with salt. And it's like very cool looking. I do have a photo here. But I've served it to people in the past and people are like, this is just like not my kind of salad. So I don't know. I think people don't like for me, the tangerines and kind of creaminess of the cheese makes sense. But I don't know. Maybe people don't like burrata because it's like a weird texture. So I served this at a couple dinner parties back a couple years ago, and I've stopped doing that because it doesn't get super well received, but I occasionally make it for myself in a scaled down version because I think all the flavors are really good. I love shallots. And the like olive oil drizzle tastes good on the tangerines, especially with the salt. So it's interesting. I think it like presents really well. But I haven't had good luck serving it to people. But I think it's really good. So I don't know. That was my recipe. And I've made it several times, and I may have talked about it on Recipe Share in like 2021, but I don't think I did. So that is what I have. That's my contribution.
Well, I have a couple of comments. Number one, I know you talked about this before in Recipe
Okay.
Share, just because I did. The only reason I know this is because I searched for burrata in like my old files the other
I
day.
should have done that in the email.
I'm actually really glad that you shared it again, because like I think that you've convinced me that I need to try this. Not only I have burrata right now, that's why I was searching for it, and like I saw your recipe and I was like, no. And now that you're describing it, I'm like, actually, that sounds really good to me. I love the flavor of like tangerines and cottage cheese
Yeah.
together. So I'm like, well, this sounds like that. And then with some green, I don't like watercress, so stay away from that. But
Yeah,
the
skip
arugula
that.
is a wonderful suggestion. So yeah, absolutely. I think this sounds good. I'm glad you shared it again. And like, you know, people haven't watched all the episodes, so new
That's
people
what
can
I
listen to this,
figured.
and yeah, if you love
Yeah,
it, keep talking about it.
I didn't remember that, but did you slice it, peel and slice? Did you remove the pith?
I peeled and then just kind of segmented. And I think I've actually even used clementines too, because those are so easy to segment.
You could probably use canned clementines too, right?
You could.
Like,
Find
for
them
easier.
canned?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would recommend giving it if it sounds good to you, then like I think it's worth trying. I've been surprised that I haven't gotten good feedback from like guests, but I think it's good. And like, you know, the greens are like they're good. I don't know. It's but I do apologize for resharing, but
oh no, I don't think you need to apologize again at all. I think it's great.
Yep, that's good. I'm looking forward to trying that maybe in the winter when, you know,
it's a good winter. I think it's like in the winter section of this cookbook.
Yeah.
So. Okay. Well, as Beth would say, if we have no further comments, thank you for watching Recipe Share, and be sure to click the link below at the event page on aadl.org to find the recipes we talked about, and feel free to share your own in the comments. Join us next time when we'll be talking about recipes that are quick and light. We're looking forward to seeing what you've been making, so thanks for sharing.
Recipe Share, Recipe Share, share a little recipe with Recipe